Omayana-timirandasya gyananjana-shalakaya chakshur-mitranjena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are continuing with Upadeshamrita, and last week we went through the 7th verse and we started going through the commentary of Srila Sridhar Mahārāj. And that verse, it's probably the most famous out of all of the verses of Upadeshamrita, because, and even if devotees don't know the verse itself, they've heard the concept, they've heard the idea. It's this verse of Rupa Goswāmī, right, giving the analogy of one who has jaundice, disease of the liver, tasting sweet as bitter, right? And similarly, we, under the influence of the material energy, are not able to taste the pure sweetness of the holy name. And so we may taste it as bitter, right? And so, this brings in as well the whole theme of what does it mean to chant the pure name, right? That this important topic is related here, right? How can we, first of all, we need to have the proper conception, right? What is the pure name? How do we chant the pure name? How can we practice that in our daily lives of practicing devotion? And so naturally, this important point of avoiding the 10 offenses to the holy name, these are ancient instructions given in the Padma-purāṇa, right, which is one of the ancient Vedic texts. This Dash Vid Nāma-parāyaṇa, this is Gurudev's poem that he wrote discussing these 10 offenses. So I was thinking, because we've been hearing from Srila Sridhar Mahārāj, it would be nice to hear from Srila Govinda Mahārāj as well. So we have Revealed Truth open here, and which in the appendix, for those of you who have the book, in the appendix, there is this composition of Gurudev's is included. And welcome, Suvasini Didi. Happy you can join us. Okay. So, Dandavat. So, Ananda Krishna, this is in the appendix of Revealed Truth. Is that right? This is a little different from it's page what page is it? It's at the back of Revealed Truth. Just this looks a little. If you click on that little tab, the 10 offenses to the name on the left there, do you see that? It just says the 10 offenses to the name. There's a title. It's not that one. Yeah. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay. So this is a poem that our Gurudev Srila Govinda Mahārāj wrote in Bengali, which is a poetic translation of the Sanskrit list in the Padma-purāṇa. And our Gurudev used to, there was a little booklet that was made. I think almost everyone here has received that or has seen it, because it would be handed out at the time of initiation, right? There was a little booklet. However, that translation was actually a little difficult, and Gurudev himself commented on that. So more recently, this new translation, which is much more clear, has been published in Revealed Truth. So we're very appreciative of having access to that. Okay, so without further ado, well, I also did just want to put in a little more intro, just mentioning, you know, that the importance of understanding these things, because that's what it means to be a member or an aspiring member of the line of, you know, Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The emphasis is on Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion, and, you know, and having a pure conception, having pure practice. These things are all emphasized very much in this, you know, by our gurus. And so it's, you know, these things are important. Otherwise, it's like we're told to chant, but ultimately everyone can chant. But if we're not chanting with the proper understanding and proper practices, then that chanting can only take us to a certain point. But if we really want to connect with the pure name, we really want to connect with that vibration descending from Goloka Vrindavan and the transcendental vibration form of the Lord, as our Gurudev liked to say, then we need to try to understand all of these things, right? Otherwise, it becomes a type of imitationism or sahajiyism. So, you know, obviously there are a lot of things that are included in this topic. Practicing chanting with the mood of humility, tolerance, and respect. That's also very key and very fundamental in trying to approach the pure name. And then another aspect to proper chanting is trying to avoid these 10 offenses. And okay, we can dive in. If anyone wants to add anything or ask anything at any point, please put a comment or raise your hand, whatever is most convenient for you. So here we are. And the first, and we can also say the most important offense, it is called sādhu nindā, which is to criticize the Vaishnavas who are preaching the glories of the name and who are very dear to the name, because that name is non-different from Kṛṣṇa himself, right? And so naturally the name will not be happy if we are criticizing his beloved devotees who are more dear to him than his own self. So this is the most important. And this is also related to why our Gurudev emphasized the principles of humility, tolerance, and respect, because if we can follow those principles, that will protect us from this most important offense. And this offense is so important that we're told it's the only thing that can destroy our spiritual creeper, our creeper of devotion, our little tender sprout that we're cultivating in the garden of our heart, that can be destroyed by enviousness or criticism of Vaishnavas. And this, obviously there's gradation to be considered in how serious the offense is, by which I mean how serious is our criticism, and also what is the caliber of Vaishnava, right? Obviously, a very exalted Vaishnava, there will be a very heavy reaction to offenses. But, our Gurudev, he made the point that even, beginner level Vaishnavas, they still have something golden in their heart. They still one drop of the infinite is infinite, right? So one drop of something pure, that's still something very substantial. So whether it's 1%, 20%, 50%, or 100%, that however little or small someone's wealth is, that's still some authentic wealth, right? If you have 1 gold coin or 10 gold coins, they're all gold coins. And so, and another thing is that getting into criticism, it can be like a slippery slope. It's like you start off with something light, and then it just like descends and descends, or it just becomes like a habit, right? Where you're in the mode of criticism. So it's just something to be alert about, right? And And that also applies to our mental, to how we're thinking. And generally in Kali Yuga, we hear, right, that sin that is committed in the mind does not count. But when it comes to offenses to the Vaishnava, that's in a different category. That's connected to the soul plane. And so we also want to be careful about how we are thinking about other Vaishnavas. We will try to be careful. Okay, anyway, I don't think it really applies to anyone in this room. Everyone here is so lovely. Something I need to preach to myself about. And welcome, Somya Sham, Vijayananda Prabhu. But in any case, we need to be acquainted with the theory, even if it is not necessarily applicable to us. Okay, so here we are, verse 1. And we can sing, this is something that we sing sometimes in our temples. It's a very nice song that we can sing. Hari-nām mahāmantra, sarva-mantra-sāra, dera, karuṇā-bale, jagate prachāra, sevana-tatpara, sādhu mahājana, hādera, nindā, kariha. The Hari-nām mahāmantra is the best of all mantras and is distributed throughout the world by the mercy of the sadhus devoted to the name. Never criticize such great souls. And, of course, this is a big topic, but we're just like condensing it, having like an overview, right, of the 10 offenses within the context of discussing Upadeshamrita. So we won't get too lost. Okay, so we can go on to the second. Vrajendra Nandan Kṛṣṇa Sarveshvadeshvar Maheshvar Aditar Sevana-tatpara Nām Chintamani kṛṣṇa-chaitanya-svarūpa bheda-jñāna kariha līlā-guṇa-rūpa. Vrajendra Nandan Kṛṣṇa is the Lord of all lords. Shiva and all other gods are dedicated to his service. The name is a wish-fulfilling jewel and a spiritual form of Kṛṣṇa himself. Do not consider Krishna's name to be distinct from his form, qualities, or pastimes. So this, obviously we don't have the original Sanskrit, but what I've understood is that it can be interpreted in two ways. It has two meanings, and so Gurudev is outlining those two meanings in his Bengali verse translation. Right, the first one is probably a little more well known, and that is to consider that the devas who are involved in the administration of the material world, to consider them to be on the same level as Krishna, Vrindavan. Right, and it's actually very nice the way that Gurudev has written it here. He's written it in a very positive way, right? He's simply saying Krishna is the God of all gods, and Shiva and all others, they are dedicated to his service, right? He's simply saying it from that angle of vision. And because, we also have to be careful to not make offenses to those devas, right? That is also important. This is not meant to be a license to criticize, the devas. It's not like that. It's simply seeing things in proper perspective, right? In the proper angle of vision, or seeing things in context, right? And this is something that's outlined very clearly in Brahma Samhita, right? That's a very helpful text for us. And I was thinking, especially like being here in India, right? And all of these devas, Shiva, Ganesh, Durga, and so on, they're all worshipped so pervasively throughout India. And generally people are worshiping them all, more or less on the same platform. And I was thinking that that's like we could consider that like a more zoomed out view, because if you're far away from something, you're looking at something in the distance, they all look like they're more or less, next to each other. But then when you get closer, then you see, oh, actually, there's light years. There was one comment I've heard that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur made. I believe it was in regards to the different Vaishnava acharyas, that he said, it is like if you're looking in the sky, the stars in the sky, they all look pretty close, right? Like really, it's quite a funny thing. If you look up at night, they all look like there's just, a couple of inches apart, right? From our little tiny view and perspective of things. But if you actually go to look at the mathematics, there's light years of distance. Like you can't even count in ordinary measurements, but you're talking light years. Like we can't even understand that with our little human brains, right? And so in the same way, from a very great distance, persons are seeing, oh, they're all up there and they're all very far away from us, right? So they're all like just, the same pretty much, right? That's like a very distant view. But when you zoom in closer, then you see, oh, actually, there's vast distance, right, between them. You could even, if you even just take like a very ordinary example, if you look at a family, right? If you look at a family from a very remote perspective, you'll just say, oh, they're a family, they're all together, they're all one. But if you're actually like a part of that family or closely acquainted with them, you'll understand like all the complexities of the relationships. You may just see them all sitting around the table eating lunch together, but there's actually like huge differences between them. There's huge layers of complexity and all kinds of complex things, right, to understand about how it's all working, what the dynamic actually is, right? And so when we come to Krishna consciousness, when we come to the conception of Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're being given a more zoomed in and closer, more intimate understanding of what's actually going on, right? Like what's the actual relationship? No doubt all of these, Maya Devi, Durga Devi, she's actually a great Vaishnavi. She's a Param Vaishnavi. We worship these devas from that perspective. It is a little sad. Sometimes we hear from members of the Krishna consciousness movement this kind of disregard for the devas, but that's not the idea at all. It's simply about understanding their position in connection with Krishna. And they're actually all great devotees of Krishna, and they're just playing their roles, right? They have their particular roles to play. And we saw, we being able to observe Srila Govinda Maharaj to some extent and hear from him, we saw that he had relationships, with all of these personalities, right? He had relationships with all of them. It wasn't that he had some type of stereotyped or ritualistic or conceptual understanding of all these entities, but he had actual relationships with them, and he appreciated them as servitors of Krishna, right? That is our perspective. And Srimad Bhagavatam celebrates Lord Shiva as the best of all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavanam Yuta Shambhu, right? There's that famous line. So, there doesn't need to be diminishing or criticizing of all of these devas, but it's simply understanding and celebrating their position as servitors of Krishna, right? It is like that. And so then we can go on. So then the other meaning of this second offense is to consider Krishna's name to be separate, right? We hear these are four aspects of the Lord in his absolute being, his nama, rupa, guna, lila, right? Name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And it's a difficult idea to grasp, but in a simple way we can say, right, any extension of Krishna, any manifestation of Krishna is fully Krishna. Hearing about Krishna, that is Krishna. Hari-katha talks about Krishna, that is Krishna. Krishna is there. Krishna's name, he is fully present there. So in every aspect of Krishna, he is fully present. So we should not think that the name is less than or is not Krishna, fully Krishna. It is fully Krishna. And if we consider that, that will also make it easier for us to understand why we're having a hard time, right? Why we can't so easily chant the pure name. Because to chant the pure name means to connect with Krishna himself, right? And that, that's not going to be as Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, hey, how you doing? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, can you pass me that? Hari-nāma, Hari-nāma. We're all doing a lot of nama-bas a lot of the time, right? Or Hare Krishna, watching the birds go by. It's not a nice evening stroll and all these. Sometimes we're all very good religious people, right? With our japa, whatever, right? Our japa walks and whatever it may be. Like, what does it actually mean, like to actually chant the holy name, right? Like once when someone asked Śrīla Maharaj about I think he was asking he was asking about, he was saying, like, he was a simple-hearted Vaishnava and he was trained by Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying, like, isn't it enough for us to go back to Godhead just by chanting 16 rounds and distributing books, right? Like he had this like very simple idea in his head, chanting 16 rounds, book distribution. Is that going to take me to Goloka Vrindavan? That was his question, pretty much. And Śrīla Maharaj, is giving very deep, profound explanation, and this simple-hearted fellow, couldn't quite get it. And the discussions kind of going in circles. Actually, Śrīla Maharaj is giving this very deep response. And then that devotee was kind of like not getting it and going back to his question again. And then finally, Śrīla Maharaj just kind of like came out like kind of like more strong, and he said, like, do you think the gopis are sitting around and chanting on japa all day? Do you think that's what's going on? And then he said, one name of Krishna is enough to send them mad, right? He was essentially saying, right, quality, right? Qualitative chanting, that's what we're looking for, and trying to connect with the substance rather than some formula or some, ritualistic conception, right, of what this is. And so he's like, so the gopis, they could they even get through a full round? Like one name is enough, to send them mad. Like they're dealing with too much Krishna consciousness, right? That's their problem. That's their problem. Welcome, Chaitanya Daya. Happy you can join us today. So where were we? Oh yeah, like what it actually means to chant the holy name. We don't really know, right? We're connecting on an outer layer, right? An outer layer of what that is. And then another thing I'm just remembering too, right? Because, also sometimes devotees can get caught up with like how you properly pronounce, right? The holy name, right? What's the proper way? Especially Rama, that one's can be tricky, right? So there can be like debate about that, right? Oh no, you're not really chanting the name. You're not really going to get the benefit of the name. You're pronouncing it wrong. And Srila Srinivas, always just like so substantial, always emphasizing the substance. And he said, like Mother Jashoda, like sometimes, some mood of ecstasy, or she may say Krishna's name a little wrong, but he gets it. He knows she's trying to call him. He knows what she means. Just like in our own case, a family member may accidentally pronounce our name wrong, but we understand that they're calling us, yes, mom, what do you need? We're not going to get tripped up on that. So substance over form, right? This is one of the points that Srila Sridhar Maharaj is famous for emphasizing. So so we've come to the third offense to the holy name. Guru Krishna Rupahan Shastra Pramane Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Kore Bhagyavane Se Gurute Marcha Buddhi Avagyadi Tyaji Ishtalab Koro Nirantar Namabaji. The scriptures confirm that Guru is a form of Krishna. In the form of Guru, Krishna bestows his mercy upon the fortunate. Give up the conception that Guru is immortal and all other types of disrespect, and attain your cherished goal, serving the name eternally. So to see Guru in a materialistic way, right? To see the material aspect of Guru, right? And to see that, there's that, I think that's the verse being referenced here, that where Krishna is stating acharya mam vijaniyam navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddha suyeta. This is famous verse in Bhagavatam where Krishna is saying, I am myself, the acharya is myself, I am Guru, right? The Guru is ultimately a principle of divinity. Guru is where Krishna and the jiva meet, right? And so that Guru principle, that may even act through a so-called ordinary jiva soul who the Lord has chosen to express himself through. Of course, we understand there's gradation of Guru, right? There are different classes of Guru. In special cases, the Guru may himself be a Paramahamsa Vaishnava who is Nitya Siddha, eternal associate of the Lord who's descended to this plane. In rare cases, that, and in those cases, that Guru actually has to descend, right? They're actually Uttam Adhikar, highest of a Vaishnava. They have to descend to a middle platform, Madhyam Adhikar level, in order to give instruction, right? In order to see right and wrong and instruct their disciples accordingly, right? Because in their normal condition, they don't even see wrong. They don't see bad anywhere. They're seeing Vrindavan everywhere. So there's different levels of Vaishnava, but even someone on a more human level who's acting sincerely in the role of a guru, that guru principle will work through him, right? that he is the delegation of the Lord, and so that pure current can act through him, and it may even be independent of him, right? That's another curious point here, right? Like Mahaprabhu mentions this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He tells to Sanatana Goswami, oh, Krishna wants to instruct you, and he's speaking through me. I'm just the middleman, right? I'm just an agent. I'm an agency here, right? So this is the necessity of the disciple to see, right? And Srila Maharaj uses this phrase, the inspired side, right? To see the inspired side, right? To see how that divine inspiration is coming through their guru for their benefit, right? And then even if, then in the case of one's guru actually being, an Uttam Adhikar Vaishnava of the highest level, one who we consider to have descended from Goloka Vrindavan, there will also be challenges there because they're still, they've taken on a material body, they're interfacing with the material environment, so they have an appearance of mundanity, and we're also seeing them with mundane eyes. So, for example, you'll see Guru going to the bathroom, right? Or Guru having a cold, right? Then even these little things, they can challenge our faith, right? We hear of one disciple of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada who he was really disturbed because he saw on one occasion Prabhupada knocked over a glass of water, right? And he thought he's supposed to be perfect, then how can I think he's such a great being, and he lost his faith, he gave it up because of that. And there was a similar case. We heard someone went to hear a lecture of Srila Saraswati Thakur, and they saw he was wearing glasses, and that disturbed him, like, oh, he's supposed to be this great being. Why is his eyesight not perfect? Why is he wearing glasses? So, these seem like silly things, but sometimes we're silly people and we have very limited ways of viewing the environment, right? So we have to try to get past that, right? And to recognize the divine nature, the divine quality that is there, right? And to see how the inspiration of Krishna is descending through that great soul. So we will honor them and try to serve them and follow their wishes as best as we can. So that is the third offense to the holy name. So the first offense was more general, right, on avoiding criticism of Vaishnavas in general, and this third one is a little more specific and honoring the Guru in particular. Yes, Ramananda Prabhu, did you have your hand raised?
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Gurudev mentions emotion or devotion. Thank you.
Oh, wait, do you want to explain that? Or what's your point here exactly?
Like you were mentioning about Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta or Śrīla Prabhupada, people they're so emotionally attached, but they don't have any philosophy, or that's why they kind of go away.
Okay, I understand now. Yeah, that's a nice point, right? Kind of having a superficial level of appreciation, more on a mental plane or a sensory plane, and not connecting with the deeper substance that is there. So yes, that is a nice point. Yeah, that is a phrase that our Gurudev used, emotion or devotion, right? We want to connect with the plane of devotion, or as he told one devotee, we want a promotion from emotion to devotion. Okay, So going on to the fourth offense, Shruti matta saha sattva-tatpara Śrīnām charam padma kore ninajan se Shruti shastra deva koruye nindan se apara dira sangha koribe varjan. The Vedas, their mother Gayatri and Srimad Bhagavatam worship the holy name's lotus feet. Reject the association of any offender who criticizes these scriptures. So here we're specifically being told, not to make offense to the scriptures that are glorifying the Lord and his holy name. We will give respect to these scriptures concerned with pure devotion. Okay, we can go on. Namera mahima sarva shastrate vakane ati stuti heno karuṇā-bale vihamane agastya ananta brahma shivadi satata jaina mahima gata sankirtana rata Nām mahima sindhu ke paibe par. Okay, we've lost our host here for a moment, I think. But this offense is discussing exaggeration, right? Namara mahima, to think that the glories of the holy name are ati-stuti, means exaggeration, too much praise, right? To be disbelieving of how glorious, how great is the holy name. And one famous incident in regards to this is that occasion when Haridas Thakur, right, is speaking the glories of the name, and he's telling that even a shadow of the name, Namabhas, can give one liberation, and there's someone there who is offended by that idea, that it could be that just a shadow of the name could give one freedom from bondage in this world, So he's disbelieving of that. The name's glories are proclaimed in all the scriptures. Never consider such glorification to be exaggerated praise. Agastya, Ananta, Brahma, Shiva, and so on are always devoted to chanting the name's glories. Who can cross the ocean of those glories? Anyone who considers them exaggerated praise is wicked. Okay, going on to number 6. Kṛṣṇa namavali nitya golokera dan kalpita prakrita bhave aparadija. Krishna's names are the eternal wealth of Goloka. Anyone who considers them imaginary or mundane is an offender. There are some who, I'm sure there's several things that will go into this category, but what comes to mind now is, there is some who will use the name as like a tool, right? Like they believe that ultimately everything merges into oneness, right? That there's ultimately no distinction, no individuality, no personal aspect, right, of the Lord. But then they'll use certain aspects of devotional practice, like as a type of stepping stone to help them get to what they believe is the highest level where everything just like dissolves. And so that applies to even worship of deities, right? And then here specifically the chanting of the name. So these persons may also practice kirtan, but ultimately they don't believe that that has any, substantial significance or existence even. So they consider it imaginary, right? So there's one comment of Bhakti Thakur saying that when these kinds of persons chant the name, he says it's painful for Krishna. He says it's like thunderbolts hitting the body of Krishna. It's like they're chanting his name, but they don't really believe in him. They don't really believe in his personal existence, right? So, it's not very pleasant. So that's the sixth offense to the holy name. Going on to number 7, Name sarva papa koi sarva shastra koi saradin pap kodi se barashai emata dur buddhi jar se aparadi maya paranchitta duk munje niravadi. All the scriptures declare that the name destroys all sin. The wicked who sin all day long in expectation of this are offenders. They are deluded by Maya and suffer perpetually. So, chanting the name like with this type of operation going on, right? That, I'll just do whatever I want. Then I'll, chant some Hail Marys on Sunday, and I'll clear the slate. Monday, start over again, right? That kind of idea. So I'll commit as much, sinful behavior as I like, and then I'll chant the name to purify myself, and I'll carry on, right? That, that is not on the line of pure devotion. And, one thing is that, the name, and this is something Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has discussed in some of his writings, that the name can bear material fruits, right? But that's not in the line of pure devotion. And that, the name is so powerful that even nāma-parāyaṇa, that can bear fruit. Nāma-parāyaṇa, offensive chanting, nāma-ba, shadow chanting, they also can bear results because the name is that powerful. But for those in the line of pure devotion, that's not what we want, right? All we want is devotion. All we want is bhakti. So, for example, someone may be chanting with desire for some material end in this world. The name can actually grant that, right? If Krishna allows that, the name has that type of power. It can fulfill one's material desires even, right? It's mentioned too about the Kama Gayatri mantra, right? In one of the purports in Brahma Samhitas discussing the Kama Gayatri, that also has that type of power. If you're chanting with material desire, it can give you a material result. But if you're chanting with spiritual desire, it can give you a spiritual result. So coming here to verse number 7, it may be that the name has that type of power, to clear some bad karma. But ultimately, that's an offensive type of chanting, and that's not going to help us in the practice of pure devotion, which ultimately means advancing our relationship with our loving Lord. Right? Like, it comes back to this: Krishna is a person, and he's non-different from his name. We don't want to use him as a tool, just like a friend in this world. We don't want to use them for our own gain. Right? Nobody likes that. If you find out your friends approached you because they want something from you, that's not very nice. You're going to distance yourself from them. So Krishna is also a person, right? And we're interested in building a relationship with him. And so we don't want to use his name to clean ourselves, of our dirt. We could do other things, go, have a crystal bath or swim in the ocean or whatever, right? Or just be nice, be good. Don't create more bad karma. But don't use Krishna for that, Can use other things for that if you need to, but don't use Krishna for that. We want to build a loving connection with him. So we'll go on to number 8. Atulya Shri Krishna Nām Purna Rasa Nidhi Tarsam Nabhaviha Shubha Karma Adi. Sri Krishna's incomparable name is a brimming reservoir of rasa. Chanting the name should never be considered equal to pious worldly action, such as adhering to vows, practicing renunciation, performing austerities, making sacrificial offerings, and so on. And this is actually, something that can be a little tricky, right? Because, we're on the sensory plane, but we're living on the plane of the senses. And, it's like when I mentioned before, like, let's say we're going on for a japa walk, and it can just easily just turn into a sensory experience, enjoying the breeze, chanting the names and seeing the scenery and this nice sunlight. Like it's all just like a nice, pleasant sensory experience, right? Because that's the plane that we're living on. And so in the same way, it can be easy for finite, limited beings like ourselves to think like that, right? No, I'm doing some charity, or I'm fasting today, or, whatever it is, and I'm chanting too, but the holy name is on a vastly superior plane. And the holy name is connected with the nirguna plane. That's what I want to say. The holy name is connected with the nirguna plane. That's completely distinct from the saguna plane, right? The saguna plane means pertaining to this world of the material modes of nature, material energy. But the holy name is on the nirguna, the transcendental, eternal, spiritual platform. And we want to remember that and try to share that also with others and help them to understand that. And yeah, okay. So we'll go on to number 9. Name Shraddha Hina Jan Didata Vanchita Tane Nām Dane Aparad Sunishchita. Those who have no faith in the name have been deceived by providence. To give the name to them is certainly an offense. So sometimes this is simply put as giving the name to the faithless, right? Those who have no faith in the name. And that can, manifest in different ways, like there's a nice section in it's Search for Sri Krishna, isn't it? I think, where Srila Maharaj is discussing all these offenses. And he explains this offense can also mean that if someone is very eager to make a name for themselves or to collect many disciples for themselves, and so they're kind of like forcefully spreading the name, but their real motivation is self-promotion, right? Because this offense doesn't mean that we can't share the name with anyone. Then obviously that's not the point, right? But to forcefully give that with some selfish end, or if that person is clearly not interested or is inimical in some way, right? We don't want to push that. We don't have that type of potency. Nityananda Prabhu, he can give the name to those who don't want the name, but we don't have that type of power. And that's not recommended for beginner level Vaishnavas. So we will be careful, right? Think of it like we have this little pot of treasure, and we will be a little discriminating, a little careful about who we share that with, right? Sometimes we can test the waters, some brave devotees, they're very good at going out on the street, and then, you try and make an opening with someone, and if they're receptive, then you continue the conversation. But if they're not, then you just leave it, right? So that you test the waters and then either withdraw or push on, right? But we don't want to forcefully give it to those who don't want it. So going on to the 10th and perhaps most perplexing of the 10 offenses. Shuniyao Krishna Nām Mahatmya Par Jai Priti Rahita Se Naradamachar Ahamta Mamata Jar Antare Bahire Shuddha Krishna Nam Tar Kabuna Hispure. Those who remain devoid of love for Krishna's name, even after hearing his boundless glories, are deplorable fallen souls. The pure name of Krishna never reveals himself to those who are internally and externally ridden with egotism and possessiveness. So you can like go through these offenses, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're like, okay, got it. Then you get to the 10th and you're like, what? like, like, how is that fair? Like, I've heard the glories of the name of Krishna, but I don't have love in my heart. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Does that make me a bad person? Right? Or I've heard the name and I still have material attachments in my heart. Right? So this one's a little difficult to understand, right? Because we cannot, all of the other offenses, we can try to practice them, right? Or follow them or conceive of them in the proper way. But this one is just like, you are or you aren't, right? You have love or you don't have love. And it's like, what? So Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj, they've explained that what is meant by this verse is that it means that we are like actively resisting, right? That the holy name, and that analogy is given, right? The boat's being rowed and it's taking you in its direction, and that we've got our anchor down. We're like, nope, not moving, not going. So it means like to be like actively resisting that the holy name is coming into our lives, coming into our hearts, and trying to pull us, trying to take us in its own direction. It wants to take us home to Vrindavan. But we are putting up walls and we are resisting that. Right? So there will be some devastation. If we're chanting with some degree of sincerity and real connection, there's going to be some shaking up in our lives, right? Where Krishna comes and tries to knock down some of the walls in our heart. And so that means he's trying to clear us, right, of our material conceptions, material attachments. And there will be a wave that will come to try and clear those things. And so what we have to do is cooperate with that. We have to try and cooperate with that flow, and not to create resistance to that. And of course, everyone's on their own individual journey, right? There's a collective aspect of our journey and practice, but it's also highly personal and individual as well. And so this is something that we all have to honestly consider within our own heart, right? If we consider, what habits we have, what relationships we have, whatever it is, we can honestly consider, hold them up in the light. Are these things helping me or not helping me? And we may also feel like, oh, I'm not able to break these things myself if they're not helpful. But at least we can try and cooperate when Krishna sends in that wave to try and clear these things, because that will happen. There will be moments where certain aspects of our lives are being purified, right? And we have to move with that and cooperate with that and see how it's actually for the better. So E dash aparad koriya varjan jay sujan kore hari-nām sankirtan apurva Shri Krishna prem labhyatare hoy Nām Prabhu tar hriday nitya vilasoy. Nām Prabhu, this very nice expression of our Gurudev, Nām Prabhu. Great souls who avoid these 10 offenses and engage in Hari-nām Sankirtan attain unprecedented Sri Kṛṣṇa prema. The name himself plays within their hearts eternally. So beautiful. So there's that line of Śrīla Maharaj, which is so wonderful, right? We are hanging from the upper world. We are hanging from the upper world. Our support comes from above, not from below. I'm just thinking in relation to this 10th offense we were just discussing, right? We're trying to hold ourselves relative to the upper world, right? And trying to take support from that higher, more subtle plane, rather than this, various things in this world that we may take shelter of, whether it's some particular circumstance or relationship or whatever it is. There may be different things which aren't so spiritually healthy for us, but we take support from them because we identify with the needs of this world. But actually, that's not necessary, right? We, from a higher perspective, our real identification is from above. And so this is a part of our life of faith, right? That we're trying to think like that our support comes from that upper world, and we're trying to live our life according to the principles and view of that higher world. Shastra Chakshu, right? The eye of scripture. We're trying to see things from that perspective. Okay, well, I'm really happy we could go through these 10 offenses. And welcome Ananta Shesh Prabhu also joined us. Yeah, that I don't like that word, offenses, but I don't know if it just has like a kind of harsh feel about it. I suppose you could say obstacles. I thought of that before. Sadhvi is asking the name. So this is actually, this is a composition. It's a song that Srila Govinda Maharaj wrote, explaining the 10 offenses to the holy name, which is in the Padma-purāṇa, right? And so Srila Govinda Maharaj, he wrote this very nice song in Bengali based on those 10 verses. And this has been published in the back of Revealed Truth. Oh, thank you. Ananda Vishnu shared a link there. Oh, and Ganguly is pointing out the time change. Oh, dear. Life always gets complicated with these time changes. Okay, well, let's think about that and I'll announce it in our WhatsApp group. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it too difficult for you all in America. It's 7 a.m. So I think generally I keep it at the California time. So probably, but then is that going to make it too late for me? I'm not sure. I'll try and look at all the numbers, and I'll announce in our chat, make it best for everyone as far as possible. But thanks for pointing that out. Suvasini Didi. And that. Any inspiration you'd like to share us?
Actually, it was so nice to go through those 10 offenses. It's very nice to, it is for us very useful. Thank you so much. The one thing I want to say is Gurudev, when he says that when you chant the holy name, you chant in the mood of service. Actually, it is always, when you're connecting with something higher, it is always in the mood of service. So that will help us also, when we chant the holy name, that to keep that in mind. that will help us.
Mm.
And also, like she said, the Gurudev always says, Nām Prabhu, so it's like sometimes we, we go through the offenses, we try, but Nām Prabhu himself will help us to avoid the offenses. If you pray to him, I'm not able to chant purely and offenses. So Nām Prabhu will help us. So I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, two very, very important points. That's very beautifully expressed. Thank you, Didi. Very, very nice.
Gurudev, helping us. Sometimes it's very hard actually. When you go through, look at that, but Gurudev gives us some hope like that.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that expression Nām Prabhu is so nice. It's like a reminder, right? Like he's a person, right?
Yeah.
He's a person. It's so easy to forget that, but it's the fundamental point.
Yeah, it is this like name and Krishna and his name are non-different. It's not easy to that is not easy to understand that. It's because in this world we are that is not like we are used to this mundane conception, but it is to have that conception is hard. Krishna and his form, they are non-different. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Shakaridi.
Yes, Ramananda Prabhu.
Yeah. I just want to mention, like Param Guru Maharaj says, Krishna is Akhil Rasamrita Murti. He is emporium of rasa. We forget that. Prabhupada also mentioned Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Practically every chapter, so many times, because we are forgetful. So he mentions over and over. Just want to bring that. Thank you so much. Explain very nicely everything. Dhanwas.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. All right. Well, maybe we'll close here. I'm sure many of you have to go to work or one thing or another that's going on. Thank you all for taking the time to join our little Sangha and go through these all-important topics. Thank you for your good association. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj ki Jai, Śrīla Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhar Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj ki Jai, all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai, Shri Hari-nām Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande. Hari-bol. See you all next time. Jai Suvasini Didi ki Jai, Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Jai. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Didi.